This is dedicated to the homies that was down since day one. Welcome to Drop D.
The JFK Assassination News and Notes Podcast with your hosts, Rob Clark and Doug Campbell.
Hey, what is going on? Welcome to an all-new episode of Quick Hits, a JFK Assassination Research and Study News and Notes Podcast. My name is Doug Campbell. I am but one of two of your hosts. With me, as always, is Rob Clark. Hey, Rob.
What's up, Douglas? Pleasure to be with you again today.
Absolutely, buddy. Absolutely. I've missed you. It's been about 5 or 6 weeks since we've done this, right? 6, maybe.
Yes, we are overdue, like a very pregnant lady.
Like a very, very pregnant lady. Well, let's, hey, man, let's break the water. You ready?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. I believe you,
bags
sir.
are packed and the car is starting.
Bags are packed. Here we go. Wow, what a story that is. I got to tell you my personal one for that later. But here we go. It's Quick Hits number 22. My name is Doug Campbell. This is Rob, and I believe Rob has our first news and or notes for this episode. Rob?
I do. And I believe this is something that I had actually brought to Nashville with me last year, but it seemed a little too convoluted to get into because we were very excited to be in the presence of one another.
Man, you know what? And as a side note, I certainly hope you're planning on making that trip again soon.
Well, yeah. Let's hope. Inshallah. That means God willing in Arabic, I think. I don't know. Okay. But yes.
One of those languages I don't know. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So this just bear with me, Doug, because this is going to get a little intricate.
I know you like hard copy.
Okay.
And you had a stack of stuff, dude, when you were here.
I did.
You did, man. It was like a good 2 inches of copy paper. You like to read off hard copy. And I do remember that.
I do.
Like, wow, man, we're going to be here like 2 in the morning.
All right, what I got here, man, is basically a chronology. And thank you, Malcolm Blunt and Bart Camp, for uploading. You can find all this stuff over at Dealey Plaza UK website in the Malcolm Blunt archives. It's a gold mine, people. Seriously, a lot of this shit is not online. So, what this little thing is here is a chronology, basically detailing the various movements of Jim Braden, Jack Ruby, David Ferrie, and Lawrence Myers and Gene West during the September lead up to the November assassination. Okay,
a lot going on in September. You know, a lot going on. You have my attention so far. Absolutely. Very interested to hear this.
Okay. Yeah, so this is something that the HSCA commissioned to be done because they were, of course, trying to figure out connections between a lot of the major names and interesting characters, that are kind of involved somewhat in the assassination milieu, if you will. Milieu. So we start on September 10th, of 1963, when Gene Braden requests a California ID change to Jim Braden.
On September 10th?
September 10th.
Okay, listen. I just want you to know something about that date occurred in some studies of mine, and I'm going to have that on hand, but that's interesting. So on September 10th, he requests a name change, legally to change his name.
From Gene Braden to Jim Braden. Yes.
Right.
Now, on the 20th of September, Braden's parole records indicate that he had went on a trip to Houston, Texas, on September the 15th through the 20th. Okay. We jump ahead a little bit to September the 24th, when David Ferrie places a long distance call to Gene West, who is, I believe, married to Lawrence Myers in Chicago. Okay. And on September the 25th, Oswald arrives in Houston at night on his way, allegedly, to Mexico City.
Right.
And also on September the 25th, David Ferrie receives a Guatemalan visa in New Orleans. As of October the 1st, Jim Braden works out of a room, number 1701, in the Père Marquette building in New Orleans.
Right.
For an oil geologist. Okay?
Does it list the geologist's name?
Not here, but I believe it will later. Yeah.
That particular profession kind of peppers this whole thing here and there. You know, like Jack Crichton, I believe he was a geologist. Lester Logue, is that right? Crichton was?
Yeah.
Yeah, oil industry geologists.
The Morning Shield?
Well, yeah, he was involved in speculation. I think that was his big deal with the Duvalier government.
Yeah.
You know, oil leases. Yeah, absolutely.
And also at the beginning of October, David Ferrie starts working out of room 1707, right down the hallway from Jim Braden, who was in 1701. Room 1707 in the Père Marquette building, New Orleans, is the office of one G. Ray Gill, noted mobster attorney for Carlos Marcello. Okay. And a lot of people during the Garrison investigation as well. So on November the 8th, Edward Myers travels from New York to Mexico City. And of course, allegedly, Oswald is long gone from Mexico City by then. On November the 9th, Ferrie is with Carlos Marcello at Churchill Farms. And also on November the 16th, Ferrie is with Marcello at Churchill Farms. On November the 18th, Edward Myers leaves Mexico City and arrives in Dallas. Now, Edward Myers is Larry Myers' brother. Okay?
Right.
On November the 20th, Lawrence Myers and Gene West fly to Dallas from Chicago and register at the Ramada Inn. Also on November 20th, 1963, Jim Braden arrives in Dallas from L.A. and registers at the Cabana Motel. The next day, Myers and West leave the Ramada and register at the Cabana Motel.
Huh.
Also on the 21st of November, Jack Ruby drives to H.L. Hunt offices sometime in the morning. Also on November the 21st, Jim Braden visits the H.L. Hunt offices in the afternoon. Same day, November 21st, this is all the day before the assassination. Lawrence Myers, Gene West, and Ruby meet at the Carousel Club at 9 p.m. November the 21st, Jim Braden is still registered at the Cabana Motel. Lawrence Myers, Gene West, Ruby, and Edward Myers meet at the Cabana Motel around midnight. And this is all the night before the assassination. Keep this in mind.
Yeah.
Now, of course, we jump forward to the next day, November 22nd.
Hey.
President Kennedy is shot to death. Yes.
Was it on the night of the 21st when Marina Lorenz puts Ruby coming to some motel in Dallas where she was with Pedro Diaz-Lanz?
Yeah.
She says Sturgis, Marcos Diaz-Lanz, Oswald was there, and she got pissed off, and she says Sturgis took her to the airport, and she went back to Miami. But, could that have been, because the way, and I read a little bit of that about that recently on a recent episode of the show, or maybe it's coming up, I can't remember, the Dallas action, but she says it was all like the whole thing was blacked out, that they had orders, the guys, the guys with the rifles, the Diaz-Lanz brothers and Sturgis, this operation, they weren't to know where they were, or something like that. And no booze, no broads, nothing. Stay in the motel. And I think that's when Ruby showed up. So I'm wondering if maybe that could have been the Cabana Motel they were in.
And maybe it was Larry Crayford that she actually saw, who, of course, resembled Oswald, who she might have, in retrospect, thought was Oswald. You know what I mean?
I did not think of that. Wow.
The chances are Crayford was with Ruby. You know what I mean? All right, so we're at the 22nd. President Kennedy is shot to death in Dealey Plaza. And Jim Braden is arrested in Dealey Plaza minutes after the assassination.
Right. Looking for a... Didn't he run in a building and ask about a payphone?
Yeah, he was arrested in the Dow Tex building.
Right. He ran in looking for a payphone, and somebody thought he was suspicious.
Yep. Also on November the 22nd, Ferrie and Marcello are together in a New Orleans courtroom for trial, allegedly. And then that afternoon, Ferrie leaves New Orleans and heads for Houston at 6:30 p.m.
Right.
Also on the 22nd, Jim Braden leaves Dallas after his arrest and heads for, you guessed it, Houston. Also on November 22nd, Ruby stands within feet of Oswald in the police station at midnight. November the 23rd.
Stalking him.
Ferrie is in...
Yeah. Had he gotten an opportunity... Had he gotten an opportunity that night, he would have popped Oswald, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he got cold feet.
Oh, yeah. Then maybe he was... somebody had to explain, okay, look now, you had a chance, but if you don't, X is going to happen. Double down on the threat.
So the next day, November the 23rd, Ferrie is in Houston, and so is Jim Braden. Also on the 23rd, from Houston, Ferrie places 10 phone calls to G. Ray Gill. Also on the 23rd of November, Lawrence Myers calls Ruby at 10 o'clock. The next morning, November the 24th, Ruby murders Oswald in the morning during the transfer.
10 phone calls to G. Ray Gill.
Yeah.
I'm struck when you say that. I'm struck about 4 years later, during the Garrison inquiry. If you go through you can go to historymatters.com, and I know you have, and read the grand jury transcripts, from the Garrison investigation. And it just seems like to me that every witness or every other witness, Garrison will ask the question, okay, because they can't have a lawyer in there with them when they're talking to the grand jury, correct? They can't have like anybody else in there but them. But they,
right.
Is there a lawyer here with you today? Yes. Who is it? G. Ray Gill. Every other damn witness, it seemed like, that Garrison called.
Yeah.
G. Ray Gill was outside. And he was in the courtroom with Marcello and Ferrie that day, when that happened. Those guys were very intertwined. Not Marcello, but Ferrie and Gill.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I would say that whatever Ferrie was up to, and I don't think that we've concretely nailed down what Ferrie's role might have been or might not have been yet in research. Do you?
No.
Right.
No.
But I'm willing to bet a little money.
I think that's what this kind of spider web is trying to figure out.
Yeah. But I think that whatever Ferrie was up to in all this and leading up to the assassination, it's probably a good bet that G. Ray Gill knew, whatever it was or wasn't.
Oh, yeah, for sure. All right, as noted earlier, and this is related to the Père Marquette building in New Orleans that Jim Braden works out of and David Ferrie works out of. Their presence on the same floor of offices in the same building in New Orleans in October 1963 was first documented several years ago by the respected California newsman Peter Noyes, now of KNBC in Los Angeles. Noyes found that Braden had listed room 1701 in the Père Marquette building as his business address during interviews with his parole officer in October of 1963. Braden stated that he was working with an oil geologist who operated an office in that room. Much of the information on Braden uncovered by Peter Noyes came from various U.S. parole office files on Braden. Having been paroled after serving several years for embezzlement, Braden was required to regularly notify parole officers in various cities of it, of his comings and goings, business trips, etc. Interestingly, Noyes discovered that Braden had never notified his parole officer of his arrest in Dealey Plaza on November the 22nd, 1963, despite the fact that his parole was conditional upon prompt notification of any future arrests. So that's interesting.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. David Ferrie, September and October 63, work out of the room 1707 of the Père Marquette building. The office of Carlos Marcello's top lawyer, G. Ray Gill, is of course set forth in Ferrie's FBI interview of November 25th, 1963, WCD 75. That's Warren Commission document 75.
Right.
Now, when we talk about the visits to the H.L. Hunt offices on November the 21st, all right, Jack Ruby goes to see him in the morning, Braden goes to see him in the afternoon. Now, what we know about H.L. Hunt is he was very rich and extremely right-wing.
Oh, wow.
You know?
Understatement.
Correct?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he was one of the first podcasters back in the 60s.
Yeah, kind of.
He would buy time on local news stations.
What was that thing called? Was it Lifeline? No.
Something like that.
Something like that, yeah. It was maybe a prototype Rush Limbaugh kind of thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man.
I mean, he was rich enough to buy, an hour's worth of airtime on the radio every week or a couple times a week and say whatever the hell he wanted.
Say what it was very early right-wing radio like we have now.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it was so early. That's probably been going on a little bit before. But this guy, yeah, he was the prototype Glenn Beck, let's say.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. A little bit out there. Way right wing.
Yeah, way right. The fact that Ruby drove to the H.L. Hunt offices in Dallas on the day before the assassination was put forth by the Warren Commission. In an interview with the FBI, Connie Trammell, a friend of Jack Ruby, stated that Ruby had driven her to the Hunt offices that morning in an effort to help her find employment. Trammell had earlier turned down an offer by Ruby to hire her as one of his strippers. Interestingly, the Warren Commission never fully clarified whether Ruby had accompanied Trammell inside the Hunt offices or whether he had just dropped her off there. The question of whether Ruby had also helped set her employment interview up there was also left unclear. The Warren Commission stated that on November the 21st, Ruby had visited with a young lady who was job hunting in Dallas. Warren Commission report, page 333. The Warren Commission report referred to Connie Trammell's FBI interview, Exhibit 2270, and their footnote regarding this Ruby Trammell contact. While the Commission did not mention it in their report, Trammell's FBI interview report noted that Ruby had not only visited with her that day, but had also accompanied her to the H.L. Hunt office. Interestingly, other Warren Commission information, which was also not mentioned in the Warren report, would seem to indicate that Ruby may have also gone inside the Hunt offices with Trammell. And in a lengthy staff memorandum on March the 12th, 64, in which the Commission requested the CIA to investigate Jack Ruby and his associates, the Commission set forth several pieces of information on the H.L. Hunt family and Jack Ruby. H.L. Hunt and Lamar Hunt may be the same person. Name Lamar Hunt found in notebook of Jack Ruby. Ruby visited his office on November the 21st. Hunt denies ever knowing Ruby. Ruby gives innocent explanation. Ruby found with literature of H.L. Hunt in his apartment after shooting Oswald.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
I was going to say that's probably pure bullshit right there. You know?
Which part?
Them not knowing each other.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, Ruby had his phone number, and if he can set up an interview for one of his lady friends who doesn't want to be a stripper, I mean, you're going to call the richest guy in town to see if you can get her a job? I mean, shit. She must have let him eat her.
I was going to say, Dame had some moves. That's all I can think. you know.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now jumping to Jim Braden and his presence in H.L. Hunt's offices in Dallas on the same day was first explored by Peter Noyes when he discovered that Braden had checked in with his parole officer in Dallas on November the 21st, sometime around noon. Noyes found that Chief Parole Officer Roger Carroll had noted that he, Braden, advised that he planned to see Lamar Hunt and other oil speculators while here. So that was his stated business for being in Dallas, right?
Right.
So this guy, Noyes, also interviewed Paul Rothermel, the former FBI agent who had served as chief of security for H.L. Hunt offices in 1963. And according to Noyes, Rothermel stated that he recalled that Braden had in fact visited the Hunt offices on the day before the assassination in the company of 3 other oil speculators, that being Roger Bowman, Morgan H. Brown, and Dwayne Nolan. Peter Noyes has further noted that the 3 men who allegedly accompanied Braden to the Hunt offices have somewhat lengthy police records and have long been linked to various organized crime activities by California authorities, particularly LAPD intelligence.
Paul Rothermel. Okay. Is this not the guy that, Dr. Jeffrey Caulfield, when he wrote, didn't he interview this guy for that book and about Walker? I'm
sure he did.
And he was like, the guy was so hostile and so hateful and like threatened him. And he felt threatened, for his physical safety after the interview and got the hell out of there. I think that's the guy. Ted Rubenstein knows the answer to that question for sure, and he's going crazy right now, jumping up and down.
Yeah, I'm not sure
if I'm wrong.
This guy Rothermel, he's been doing a lot of singing over the years about alleged things that have been going on here. Like he claims that he went and bought a copy, one of the first copies of the Zapruder film for H.L. Hunt to watch and jack off to.
Yeah, he was his the chief of security dude, and he was a real douchebag apparently.
Yeah. All right, so we jump forward to November 22nd when Ruby is in the police station at midnight. Now we know Ruby was there. He's caught on camera and on film, not really disguising himself, but portraying himself as a newsman, and correcting a couple of the statements made by the Dallas police that evening in their various public statements.
Wearing shades at 1 a.m.
Yeah, it's a fair play for Cuba committee and all that good stuff. It's interesting how he would have known that, but okay. So what this goes to state is that the fact that Jack Ruby stood within several feet of prisoner Lee Oswald on the night of the assassination has generally received little attention. In his own Warren Commission testimony of June 7, 1964, Ruby admitted that his first encounter with Oswald had occurred at the police station over 36 hours before he finally shot the accused assassin on the morning of the 24th. Ruby testified that he had been present as Oswald was being moved through the hallways around midnight on November the 22nd. He says, and quote, "I am in the hallway there. There's a narrow hallway, and I don't recall if Captain Fritz or Chief Curry brings the prisoner out, and I'm standing about 2 or 3 feet away from him. I was standing about 3 feet away from Oswald." This is from Warren Commission Volume 5, page 191. Interestingly, Ruby later told Dallas police authorities that he had a gun with him that night in his coat when he first stood next to Oswald on the night of the 22nd. However, during his Warren Commission testimony in June of 1964, Ruby changed his story, stating, "I lied about it. It wasn't so. I did not have a gun with me that night."
So what do you think? Think he had a gun?
Weird. I think he had one with him, and I think he got cold feet.
Hell yeah. I am 100% on board with you there.
So, chronologically, here goes this.
All right.
The next day, David Ferrie places 10 calls to G. Ray Gill from Houston. Okay? And this is straight from David Ferrie's mouth from his FBI interview on November the 25th, 1963.
Well, didn't the skating rink guy say that he spent all of his time on a payphone?
Yeah.
So that's what he's doing. He's communicating with Gil while he's at the skating rink in Houston, while Siegfried and Roy ice skate.
Right. Ferrie told the FBI agents that he had placed 4 long-distance calls to G. Ray Gill on November 23rd, 2 in the morning and 2 in the evening, and at least 7 calls to G. Ray Gill on the afternoon and evening of the 24th. Ferrie stated he had not been able to reach Marcello's lawyer, G. Ray Gill, during several of these calls, hence the reason for making so many. If you believe that.
I do not. Let me go on the record.
Yeah. So, let's have a little conjecture here.
All right.
Okay, Doug? All right. So, there's a lot of information covered with the possible connections with Jack Ruby, Jim Braden, David Ferrie, Lawrence Myers, and Gene West.
Right.
And this is all based on phone records, locations where they are, times together, things of this nature. So while the presence of 2 or more witnesses in the same building or motel does not, of course, establish that those same witnesses had contact with each other, let alone establish their participation in any crime, the proximity or repeated proximity of these same witnesses to each other is, of course, a credible starting point for further investigation.
That is, that's way more than a coincidence when you think of the characters involved. That's not a coincidence. Would you think? I mean, you kind of got to go, wait a minute. No.
Right. And then Jim Braden's arrested at the murder scene.
Yeah.
So
there's Ruby. There's the thing about, Lorenz and the small and the little motel, and who else showed up over there? The Myers guys and Crayford and Ruby and.
Yeah. So a summary of the possible connections here we go.
Okay.
Braden connects with 6 of the 8 preceding instances cited. So, in all these things, including the Cabana Motel, including Dealey Plaza, including phone calls, including, places visited, all of that. So, Braden connects with 6 of the 8 preceding instances cited. Ruby connects to Braden twice, as far as locations. Ferrie connects to Braden twice, as far as phone calls. Ruby, Braden, and Ferrie each connect to Gene West, and Ruby and Braden connect to Myers twice. Besides connecting to each other twice, Ruby and Braden also each connect to the same 2 persons, Myers and West, twice also, with all 4 of these connections occurring in Dallas within 48 hours of the assassination. 6 of the 8 connections cited occur within 36 hours of the assassination, and 2 of them, Ferrie and Braden, connect to the same floor of the same building in the same city in October of 1963. And 2 of them, Ruby and Braden, connect to the same office building in Dallas on the day before the assassination with a known extreme right-winger. 3 of them, Ruby, Ferrie, and Braden, connect to various organized crimes activities. Okay, Ruby allegedly has ties to organized crime. Ferrie is working for Carlos Marcello, and Jim Braden, of course, is in the organized crime out on the West Coast.
Right.
4 of them, Ruby, Braden, Myers, and West, connect to the same motel in Dallas on the night before the assassination. They're at the Cabana. And 1 of them, Jim Braden, connects to the actual scene of the assassination. So there's that, Doug.
According to some witnesses, Ruby connects to the scene as well. A witness. Who was a witness? Which was the witness that said they saw him running across the plaza there? It was in Oliver Stone's movie.
Well, there was one that came out a couple years ago that was drawing a lot of excitement, about the guy who said he was standing there on a corner. I think it was Maine and Houston, and said that he was there to watch the fireworks, right?
Yeah.
And then you also have other witnesses placing him and possibly being caught on camera in front of the TSBD after the assassination. Of course, a guy in a suit with sunglasses and slicked back receding hairline doesn't make him Jack Ruby, but it's interesting, because you have Jack Ruby at Parkland Hospital, or allegedly after the assassination as well.
Yeah,
and allegedly he was seen outside the Texas Theater, allegedly as well, and captured on film. Now, whether or not that's him, I don't know, but it's very interesting, all of it.
Yeah. Some
and
of
the
that.
fact that his apartment is over there in Oak Cliff, and the direction that Oswald was heading, makes it even more interesting. So,
Yep, some of it's hearsay, some of it's conjecture, but some of it we know happened. Like being in the basement of the DPD.
yeah. Now, everything I just outlined there between all these characters and their connections, is of course not concrete evidence of anything. It's just merely very interesting and certainly deserves another look. And I think this is some of the kind of things that really interested Jim Garrison during his investigation. He was big on Braden, and even the H.L. Hunt, and his connections, and of course Jack Ruby as well. So,
Oh yeah.
very interesting stuff, man. When you take it all together and you figure out, okay, what the hell is going on here? You can kind of speculate. Okay, well, if Jack Ruby is there that night, or he's meeting with all these people in the Cabana Motel the night before the assassination. Of course, they have a plan,
Right.
or they're getting a plan together, or they're going over the final preparations for the plan. And so the next day, of course, things go down, and I don't know if things went according to plan. Probably not. That's why Oswald was arrested alive.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what Marita Loren said they were doing was, finalizing some things when Ruby came by there, talking about things, and I imagine, like you say, finalizing, getting ready, going over the plan.
Yeah, and I imagine they told Jack Ruby, since, you got all these connections with the cops and this and that, you get your ass in there, and as soon as they bring him out in that hallway, you put some lead in this dude, you know what I mean? Shut him the hell up. And I think Ruby chickened out that night. And then, of course, the next day, they got to come up with another plan. All right, how are we going to get to Oswald? Well, Jack's going to have to do it again. And this time, there's going to be no cold feet, or there's going to be consequences type deal. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely.
So when you see the spider web of connections and conversations going on between Houston, H.L. Hunt, G. Ray Gill, and it's very interesting too, Doug. People like to laugh at Thomas Beckham and his allegations and all that stuff, but he puts G. Ray Gill pretty much in charge of the New Orleans part of the operation. It's like the head honcho, it's the final say guy, you know what I mean?
When you think about his seriousness in his later years with what he said and what he claimed and all that, and you juxtapose that with the craziness of 1967-68, I see that performance to Garrison, the nuttiness, as a defense mechanism. Right.
That's probably what he was told to say. You go in there and you don't say shit. You say this. You know. And of course, later, after Ferrie's dead, Gill's dead, a lot of the big time players are dead. Ruby and the rest of them, because what Thomas Beckham said is that they finalized the plans before he went to Dallas with that package for Lawrence Howard in G. Ray Gill's office.
Right.
That's where they met, and they met there with a representative of the Marcello family. Of course, because Clay Shaw was there, which who knows, but David Ferrie was there. Jack Martin was there. And of course, G. Ray Gill, and maybe a couple other fellas thrown in there. Who knows?
Now Jack Martin being there is a little bit. He'd have to convince me of that. I don't know. Maybe if there were details, Jack Martin doesn't strike me as the type of guy that smart folks would let know that.
Right.
You know.
And you remember when I was in Nashville, and the reason I had this with me, I just did the other story when I was there about the possible sighting of Jack Ruby and Oswald in New Orleans at a hotel, right? Do you remember that story?
Yeah, I think I do. Yeah.
Yeah, they had interviewed a motel clerk who stated that, and she wasn't sure of the date because, of course it was going back, but that, after, Jack Ruby and Oswald stayed at the motel and did some weird things, right? Well, this could have been, of course, Ruby and Crayford.
Could have been.
And, people often overlook the fact that Jack Ruby had ties to New Orleans. They would, the whole stripper trade, if you want to call it that, happened.
Well, they were pimps,
a lot back then, because
they were pimps, and I'm sure that, hey man, I'll give you $1,000 if you let this chick come to work for me, and then the other club owner in New Orleans says, hey, you're going to Dallas to work for Jack. They
would trade girls. Yeah, they would trade girls.
It's like a form of indentured servitude. Yeah, you remember the scene in the Sopranos, when Silvio paid for a bunch of dental work for this chick, and she had to work it off, and like there was, he treated it like a loan shark loan. There was interest and compounded and blah 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 blah, and that's the way they get these chicks on the hook. Their property,
and the drugs and the money, because it benefited them too to go to a new city, a new state, in front of new customers. Things get stale after a couple months in the same city. If you get the same guys come to see the same chicks, and they stop coming because they're tired of seeing the same chicks. So and then the chicks don't make enough money. So it behooves everybody to kind of swap these girls around between these different strip joints. And
dang, you know a lot about
Jack
strippers.
Ruby was known to do it with, strip joints in New Orleans.
You should know a lot about strippers.
Well, what can I say? I'm just speculating.
Me too. Sorry about that.
Informed speculation.
But yeah, Ruby had Ruby had deep ties to New Orleans, and probably ran some guns or Jeeps, or whatever to Castro through there as well.
And it's not out of the realm of possibility that Jack Ruby had ties to some of these extreme right wingers, or knew them in New Orleans. He knew some of the seedier side of the New Orleans nightlife. And apparently, he was also swaying both ways, and of course, New Orleans was a hot spot for homosexuality back then. It wasn't, there was a bigger population than, say, Dallas, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
It was more,
what did Kevin Bacon call it in Stone's movie? The homosexual underworld.
Yeah. So
you're a
I think
fine-looking
Jack
man,
Ruby,
Mr. Gasson.
I love it when you say that. So I think Ruby, made several trips over the years to New Orleans, and knew a lot of people over there in New Orleans. So, these connections are not as crazy as they sound.
Absolutely not.
But that's it for that one, Doug.
Well, cool. Thank you for that, Rob. That's some good research, dude. Love that chronology.
Well, thanks to Malcolm Blunt for posting all this stuff online, or we never have it. So,
amen to that.
Cool.
And the chronology. I'm big on chronology, looking at things, and what the September 10th thing I was telling you about. Stick a pin in that when you mentioned that date. Interestingly enough, I've been working on a project with Bill Simpich, kind of on and off, a research project. And that is the date, September 10th, that someone in the CIA changes the file number for Lee Harvey Oswald. September 10th, 1963, right before Mexico City. It changes from 100-300-11 to his 201 file number on that date. And the stamps on here are CIOps, CIA, which is counterintelligence operations, SRCI, Soviet Russia counterintelligence. Somebody crosses out the file number and uses his 201 file. It just changes. And that the original file number with the 300, the 100 is a Fair Play for Cuba Committee file.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I'm, and interestingly enough, our mutual friend Martin Rigby posted a question in a Facebook group. Like, we talked about Oswald having been possibly somebody's man inside the assassination plot, but he got framed for it. And Martin says, okay, like if that happened, when would his cover be blown? When did his cover get blown? And I'm thinking, well, it would be probably while and because of shit that happened in New Orleans, I would say. And then when I was looking through this material that Bill sent me about them changing his file number on the 10th, it's like, well, why would they do that? What happened? So I got to looking, and he, the 21st, he was on the radio, August 21st, right? And then from then into Mexico City, he goes quiet, doesn't he? Right?
He's arrested August 9th in New Orleans.
Right.
Gets in the paper and all that happy horse shit. Gets on the radio twice, I believe, in the month of August. And, of course, in this time span, he is allegedly not employed.
Yeah, but I was looking at like Harvey and Lee and a couple of other, because Harvey and Lee, the chronology about where he is allegedly is great. I mean, Armstrong did a good job on that. I looked at another couple of chronologies, Dr. Waltz and this and that. But he basically kind of like cut out all of his shenanigans in New Orleans after the 21st. He's basically really quiet until he pops up in New Orleans, when he loads the wife and kids up with Ruth Payne, and then he allegedly gets on the bus. I don't think he did.
Yeah, we call that the black hole month.
Right. Well, this changing of his file from 100 from the number from 100-300-11, which is like a Fair Play for Cuba Committee file, right, to his 201 number on the 10th happens in that same period. So maybe, or this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking whatever thing he was doing in New Orleans, that operation was over. That's why his file number changed. Like whatever they had him doing in New Orleans, he either, like Martin said, blew his cover, and they decided to get him the fuck on to Dallas to the next thing, or whatever they were doing, whatever someone had him doing was over with at that point. Time to move on.
Well, you remember this too, Doug, that, of course, after the altercation on the 9th with Brenier and all those guys, and who knows if Brenier and his buddies and all these anti-Castro Cubans were CIA, FBI informants, more than likely. You have Carlos Quiroga, allegedly trying to infiltrate the FPCC, Oswald's FPCC, visiting his house, talking to him, possibly even picking up his printed literature for him from the printer's office.
Yeah.
And of course, all these guys know that Oswald is full of shit because he's already blown himself to them by going in there and offering to help them and giving him his Marine training manual. And then a week or so later, he's seen on the street with the Viva Fidel placard, wearing and handing out literature.
Yeah, for real.
So obviously Oswald is up to something in New Orleans, and I think these anti-Castro Cubans really smelled a rat at that point and tried to out him as much as they could to the FBI, to anyone who would listen, even dragging him on the radio and trying to get the public, put him in the public eye. Of course, Oswald viewed this as good propaganda for himself.
Yes.
But maybe it was not viewed that way by certain other individuals. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he's stirring up the hornets. Let's pull him out of there.
Yeah, he's becoming too visible, too notorious, and he fucked up, basically, you know, when he approached Brignier first and then got caught.
Yep.
By them later, working both sides of the Castro Street, if you will. So, yeah, apparently, probably around that point, as you pointed out, something changed.
Yeah, you know, it's like Peter Dale Scott says, you know, when he tried to infiltrate Brignier and got caught, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, if Brignier is CIA, right? Allegedly, right? Yeah. Well, if he's CIA, why is Oswald, if he's CIA, trying to infiltrate him? Doesn't make any sense. You know, who was he working for? You know, it's, you know, boy, I tell you what, man, dude is like peeling an onion, isn't he?
Well, you know, when you think about what was going on in New Orleans there, you know, it appears to me, rather than, you know, the CIA might have had something to do with his whole defection and all that mess. But I think once he came back, he was more watched over by the FBI and Warren DeBreeze and Hosty and guys like this, and, you know, maybe treated as an informant or a confidential informant, or maybe he was given menial tasks like, hey, yeah, start this pro-Castro group, and we'll see who joins it, and we'll out these commie bastards. You know what I mean? And
even though their chairman practically begged you not to, via letter.
Right. So, you know, who knows what was going on, you know, but I think it was an intricate web of craziness. You know, I think for this, if Oswald had CIA ties, I think they pretty much ended on his return from the Soviet Union and his you know, debriefing, if you will. After that, I think they were pretty much done with him at that point. But I think the FBI kind of picked up the interest in Oswald upon his return, because, of course, they are supposed to take care of domestic responsibilities like that and keeping an eye on foreigners who married American citizens and come back, especially redefectors.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these women are spies. And, of course, we've heard those allegations about Marina before. And, you know, who knows if they're true or not. But, you know, certainly the FBI would have been keeping an eye on Oswald and his wife and what he was doing. And, you know, he might have been coerced into doing other things, you know, to kind of prove to them that he is back in America. He's an American citizen. He's going to try to do the right thing in their eyes, or in his eyes, you know, for America. And, you know, along the way got compromised by another group who saw what he was doing, who might have had ties to, say, Guy Bannister, G. Ray Gill,
John
Marcello,
Martino,
guys like this. Yeah, because we know the CIA did have a heavy presence in New Orleans. You know, their offices are right across the street from Bannister's offices. So
yeah. Nice, you know, and cozy.
And who knows really who was working for the CIA in New Orleans back then? I mean, who really knows? I mean, you had Joe Needy's running these anti-Castro Cubans. You know, I've heard things about William Dalzell being a CIA agent. You know, Bannister might have been double dipping. Who knows? I've heard allegations that Jack Martin was CIA. So, you know, the list goes on and on.
Amen to that. You're exactly right. Well, Rob, what I have here, homie, what I would like to do, if I may, is to shine a spotlight. You know what you do. Here's what I like about what you do. You ready? With stuff you bring here, you bring witnesses and statements that not a lot of people may have heard.
I try to do that. Yeah.
You do. And names that maybe a lot of people have not heard, but need to hear. So I was presented with this name recently in my studies, and I want to do here shine a spotlight on a not so well known but potentially important witness, a witness that folks who've been researching for a good while will probably be familiar with, like you, but folks newer to the case might not be, but should be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The witness.
Yeah, can't wait.
All right. The witness, Rob, was a man named Wayne January. Are you familiar with that name?
I believe so. Does he have ties to the Redbird Airport?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely does. Now, as you know, researcher and author Larry Hancock has a new book out called Tipping Point, The Conspiracy That Murdered John Kennedy. Mr. Hancock is scheduled to appear with me on the Dallas Action next month to discuss his book in detail. But I wanted, if I may, my friend, to share with the audience a little bit of what Larry has written about Wayne January in both his new book and elsewhere for two reasons. One, to inform those newer to the case of his story, and two, to maybe bring his name back to the front, of the minds of those who've been doing this for a while, because his statements, to me, potentially explosive, and it certainly bears attention in further research. I'd like to read a little bit now.
For my brain, I think when I heard about him when I first heard about him, I didn't really give him much credence or really understand what his story could have possibly been tied to. So I'm very interested to hear what you have to say, Doug.
Well, it's one of those deals that we ingest so much information, don't we? There's no way we can remember it all and make the connections. At least I can. And we need a refresher for sure. But check this out, dude.
Yeah.
What I want to do is I want to read a little bit from Tipping Point, if I may, and get your thoughts. This is from Larry Hancock's new book, which you can get online, guys, from Amazon, Amazon.com, Tipping Point. I want to read a little bit. Wayne January operated an aircraft servicing and sales company at Redbird Airport in Dallas. Following the assassination, he contacted the FBI and reported a suspicious incident with unidentified individuals who had tried to rent an aircraft for a long-distance flight just before the assassination. During 1963, January was partnered in the sale of a small number of multi-engine transport aircraft, which were being sold to a third-party company with offices at the Houston Air Center. Rob, Houston came up a whole bunch in your previous segment, right?
Oh, buddy.
Yeah, buddy. Now, early in the week of the November 2022 assassination, Larry writes, two individuals arrived to take receipt of the last aircraft. One, an American, left immediately after a brief introduction to January. The second was Latino. He essentially accepted the aircraft, overseeing any corrective maintenance work which was required. The Cuban spent the whole week working right alongside January on the plane. Now, while the aircraft was being accepted, the pilot/aircraft mechanic conducting the acceptance identified himself as a Cuban. He spoke English with no particular accent, who had previously flown similar aircraft in Cuba. He had joined the Cuban Expeditionary Force as a pilot and had flown at the Bay of Pigs. Later, he mentioned that the American who had arrived with him to take possession of the aircraft was a colonel in the United States Air Force. The Cuban became comfortable after talking with January over several days, but was outspoken in relating that his friends had died during the Bay of Pigs landing because JFK had not delivered the promised air cover for them. January felt the man to be quite sincere, but that he was simply exaggerating about revenge against President Kennedy. Nothing about the pilot's remarks indicated he was directly involved in the Dallas attack. He had been there working on the aircraft's checking and acceptance since November 18th. However, they are quite consistent with other sources on the motive and the individuals actually involved in the attack on Dallas. My friends lost relatives and comrades who I lost my place here. My friends lost relatives and comrades who died because of your President Kennedy, because he failed to send the planes they were promised for the landing at the Bay of Pigs. They are going to kill Kennedy for that. They are going to kill your president. That is what he allegedly told January, Rob.
Yeah, that's pretty specific.
It's very specific. Absolutely. I agree. David, now this next part, David involves David Boylan, friend of the show, excellent researcher. On May 31st of this year, Rob, Mr. Hancock posted the following regarding Wayne January in the Education Forum. A little further info for the listeners here. Larry writes, again, posted May 31st, David Boylan and I revisited the subject of Wayne January at length in the Wheaton Leeds paper, an excellent research paper that they authored a couple of years ago, I think. Larry goes on, giving a likely identification of the American officer who was at the airport with the Cuban to pick up the aircraft the week of JFK's visit, the Air Force colonel. In that paper, we proposed and examined several possible Cuban pilots as possibilities for the individual who made the remarks to January, since that is a key lead. The lead is revisited in Tipping Point, and at the moment, David and I are working on what may be the final and most likely identification of the Cuban pilot, which, if correct, will go further to independently lead us directly to the set of individuals involved in the Dallas conspiracy. In all of this, it's important to recall that January himself approached the FBI, but when interviewed, he began with the information about the visit of suspicious people wanting to charter an aircraft, and shut up when he saw that the FBI agents had their own agenda. It was the researcher Matthew Smith's original work with January which gave us the Cuban lead from Redbird Airport. And when he shared the aircraft tail number with Mr. Hancock, with me, he writes, but it's Mr. Hancock, made available to him only after January's death by his widow, help from Alan Kent and an FAA employee who asked to remain anonymous, that allowed us to trace the aircraft to Houston Air Center and headed to its final sale to a Mexican airline 2 years later. So Hancock and those guys, Rob, they've actually traced the airplane already. They kind of know where it went. Hopefully, David and I may be able to close the circle, identifying both the American officer and the Cuban pilot to a great deal of certainty and fully develop the lead from January after something like 30 years of working on it. Now,
and there's Houston again.
There's Houston again. It's popping up a lot in this show, huh? Now, I tell you what I decided to do, since in his Education Forum post, Mr. Hancock mentioned the Wheaton Leeds paper. I thought we would go to that and see what they wrote about that in the Wheaton Leeds right here. And now remember, AM World, that CIA operation was also known as the Second Naval Guerrilla, designed to support and unite several Cuban exile groups under the leadership of Manuel Artemay. This overall mission of AM World was to foment a popular uprising in Cuba that would cause Castro's downfall, right? So this is what they write regarding the U.S. colonel who was at Redbird Airport with this Cuban pilot, Rob. While equally speculative, it is quite possible that the American who arrived with the Cuban was a CIA officer whose duties and known travel exactly fit the time frame for an appearance to accept an aircraft in Dallas. United States Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Manny Chavez, pseudonym Russell Sambora, alias Manuel Gomez, a.k.a. Major Gomez, or the Mexican, was assigned from JM Wave, Rob, to support the AM World effort on October 29th of 1963. He was suddenly assigned to JM Wave for AM World. He had been at JM Wave with David Sanchez Morales on the Cuba project since 1960. He and Morales had previously served in Venezuela together before assignment to the JM Mate project. Chavez had trained as a pilot, flew during World War II with the Army Air Force. During the Korean conflict, he was called back to active duty and received training at the U.S. Army Counterintelligence School and in early October of 1963 was a member of the United States Air Force interrogation team. Chavez's roles in the early months of AM World were threefold. He assisted with the logistics of moving major pieces of equipment and shipments of weapons. He appears to have done some contact work to set up logistics for air support. And he was directly charged with monitoring and reporting on the operational security of the AM World project. While details on his work are limited at present, we do know that Chavez traveled to help organize activities in the early days of the project. That his travel included at least one trip to Mexico City, where he was scheduled to arrive on November 25th, 1963. On that trip, according to documents, he was to contact both David Atlee Phillips and officers of the Mexican Air Force. So that is the guy that Mr. Boylan and Mr. Hancock are pretty sure was the U.S. Air Force colonel involved in Cuba operations, who was at Redbird Airport with his Cuban pilot, readying this plane, which left on November 22nd, Rob. So I thought, those are some potentially important leads, man. I wanted to pass that along to everybody.
Yeah, very interesting.
All right. And worthy of further follow-up, I would say. Guys, if you hear those pretty birds in the background, all those pretty birds, Rob is currently... We've come a long way, Rob. You are podcasting outdoors from an undisclosed tropical location. Holy cow.
Yes, it's very lovely here. So I apologize for the sound of tropical birds and wind chimes and cool breezes in advance.
Bikini-clad young ladies within Rob's field of vision, obviously.
Yes. Slapping oily bottoms, various other kinds of noise. Just disregard if heard.
Yeah, he keeps muting himself so we don't hear the drooling, I think, is what's going on. All right, Rob. What you got, man?
All right, Doug. I got a very interesting document.
I'm ready.
And this is from the Oswald FBI headquarters file.
Okay. Yeah.
And it pertains to two very interesting things in one short paper. So the first thing being on December the 4th, 1963, Mr. Jesse Caldwell, who is the assistant manager at the Adolphus Motel in Dallas, advised that the records of the hotel indicate that Richard Dick Billings, Life magazine representative, address 814 DuPont Plaza Street, Miami, Florida, arrived at approximately 4:30 p.m. on November the 22nd, 1963, and left at 5 p.m. on November the 28th, 1963.
He arrived at what time?
Mr. Caldwell, 4:30 p.m.
Okay. So that's 4 hours after the assassination. Richard Billings hits Dallas.
Yes, but you got to remember, there is a time difference from the East Coast to Dallas of, I believe...
1 hour.
What is it, an hour?
Yeah.
1 hour. So...
3 hours.
He would have left Miami... I think it's an hour.
Hour and a half,
you on the same time
flight?
as Dallas?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an hour then.
Yeah.
So he would have arrived at 3:30 Miami time. Okay. And I believe it would have been an approximate damn close to 2 hour trip. Okay.
Yeah.
So he would have had to hustle his ass immediately after the assassination to the airport, get on a plane and get to Dallas, like pronto, buddy. You know what I'm saying?
Quick.
Yes, quick. I mean, beyond quick, like super fast. So that's the reason that this guy is letting the FBI know that, hey, something might be up here, because this guy arrived pretty damn quick.
Man, and that guy
he also
was up to his eyeballs in shit during the Garrison investigation.
Well, yeah.
I'm talking about Billings, during the House Select Committee on Assassinations thing. I mean, Dick Billings and Ted Rubenstein and I have talked about him a lot too, man. That guy, you almost, when you think of gatekeeper, when you're
talking about Life magazine, they bought the Zapruder film.
Yeah.
They got exclusive photographs to put in their magazine of Oswald, on the cover and on the inside, and just kind of in control of the whole narrative to the public, I believe.
Well, man, I wish I had them handy because it'd be a good companion piece to what you're reading us now. I found in that that cache of Garrison files that Bart Camp shared with us, that Google Drive thing. There's a file of personal letters to and from Clay Shaw and a lawyer for Life magazine. I mean, they're literally.
Oh yeah, I'm sure
they're literally giving Clay Shaw heads up on shit. I mean, and I plan on bringing that to the show here on an upcoming episode. But it's absolutely fascinating. I need to go through them and take some notes and stuff. But it's crazy. It's crazy. They were literally, and I know it's pardon the pun, but they were in bed with Clay Shaw during the whole Garrison thing. Life magazine was, and they were communicating with him through this lawyer that Shaw apparently had known for years. It's crazy. But anyway, I apologize, sir. I digress. Continue, please.
So what originally caught my eye about this document is not the fact that Dick Billings was hauling ass to Dallas, Texas, but the rest of this document. And Doug, if I can take you back a minute to that strange, very strange piece of film taken by a Mr. John Martin of, I believe, Minneapolis, Minnesota. The Martin film.
Blockbuster evidence, dude. We just, as a community, have not wrapped our brains around the implications of this film. It's crazy. Craziness.
Yeah. Now, this is the same guy who was documented his flight from Minneapolis to Dallas, Texas, and his various goings through Dallas included General Walker's residence. And come to find out, I believe he was in the Army at the same time as General Walker and knew him, maybe served under him at some point, which is why he wanted to take note of his residence in Dallas. And then also managed to capture the street arrest and fracas of Carlos Bernier and Oswald in New Orleans, and the aftermath of all the Fair Play for Cuba Committee flyers on the ground and
on the
actual
same
arrest
roll
of both.
of Super 8, on the same roll of 8mm film.
So, bearing that in mind, sir.
Okay.
On December the 4th of 1963, a Mrs. Pat Swank of Life magazine, who was a representative of Life magazine who lived in Dallas, 4316 Rawlings, advised that an 8mm color movie of the Presidential Motorcade taken by Mr. John Martin, who was on Houston Street at the Postal Annex, were immediately sent to Life magazine, New York City, in an undeveloped condition to be reviewed.
Okay,
now,
this is
interesting about that.
This is even bigger than Blockbuster. What you're reading, I mean, this needs to be plastered on every forum, everywhere. So, what what Weisberg, the artifact that Weisberg and this other guy I can't remember his name, ended up with this Martin film that shows General Walker's mailbox, the bullet hole in General Walker's house, then immediately cuts to Oswald in the streets of New Orleans, passing out flyers and getting in a fight, may have at one time contained footage of the presidential motorcade.
Yes.
Jesus, man.
Taken from the Houston Street Annex Postal Office, or, I guess right out front. I guess where Jack Ruby was allegedly told that he said to some guy, get ready to watch the fireworks. Okay? Also, from where Harry Holmes is up in the 4th or 5th floor of the Houston Street Postal Annex with his binoculars, watching what's going on unfolding in Ely Plaza.
Harry Holmes, Dudley Do-Right, okay. I call him.
Also, of which, if you were from that position and you were looking down on Houston Street, sir, you're going to have a pretty good view of the 6th floor window of the school book depository. Okay?
Dude, this is some mind-blowing shit. This is some mind-blowing shit.
Mrs. Swank said that these films were probably of no news value since she had not heard from Life magazine in New York about them, but that they would eventually be returned to Mr. John Martin in Dallas, Texas. Okay.
Well, yeah, he lived in Minnesota, but Miss Swank might not have known that he was actually from Minnesota.
So, not only did he visit General Walker's house, did he happen to catch the fracas on Canal Street with Brinier and Oswald, but he was also in Dallas, Texas on November the 22nd, adding to the movie from Houston Street, looking at the school book depository, filming the motorcade.
That is uneffing believable to me. This film actually came up in, you were talking about Malcolm Blunt. It actually came up in conversation in Alan Dale's book, Devils in the Details. Based transcripts of his conversations with Malcolm Blunt. They talked about that film and how important it is. But now what you're telling me, this lady is saying that this John Martin filmed the assassination. This is possibly a wow. You never hear about this. This is an amazing discovery, Rob. This is an amazing discovery. This
is an FBI document stating that Mrs. Jessie Caldwell, Mrs. Pat Swank, a Life magazine representative of Dallas, Texas, sent the 8mm color movies undeveloped to Life magazine in New York City in an undeveloped condition to be reviewed.
Well, that
she didn't send them to the FBI. She didn't send them to the Secret Service.
Well, you know what? That explains where Weisberg got it, because Weisberg and Dick Billings were two peas in a pod, man. Those cats were just about inseparable. People talk about how the Interpin bunch, like Lawrence Howard and Hemming and other people like De Torres, infiltrated Garrison's investigation. Man, Billings and Weisberg were like partners. The day Lauren Hall showed up to testify to the House Select Committee on Assassinations with Immunity, guess who was sitting in the front row? Guess who went out drinking with him that night?
Yeah.
Dick Billings and Harold Weisberg.
Yep.
Yeah. And so, okay, see, I always heard that this John T. Martin gave it to Weisberg, or passed it to Weisberg, the film. But I don't know why that never rang true. I didn't buy that. But that would explain how Weisberg got it. And it might explain why Weisberg sat on it. Or the story goes that the only thing he really concentrated on was trying to identify the Cubans in the photographs.
Right.
And my question was, how does the profundity of the artifact that you're holding, Walker and Oswald on the same piece of film, escape you? How does that escape you? Right? But now we're talking about a missing film of the assassination, one that's showing up as an undeveloped film in FBI documents ascribed to John Martin.
Yeah.
Unreal, Rob. We ought to just stop the show right there.
Go on here with it.
Nothing was...
Mic drop. Well, it gets better.
Dude, it's a mic drop document, for sure.
So, Mrs. Swank advised that Mr. Hugh Moffat, who was an assistant managing editor at Life magazine, should be contacted concerning the location and importance of Martin's films. Mrs. Swank advised that if she learns from Lifetime that there was any information of value in Mr. Martin's 8mm color movie films, she will immediately contact the FBI in Dallas. On December the 10th, 1963, the New York office of Time Life advised as follows. The 8mm color movies taken by John Martin of the Presidential Motorcade were reviewed December 9th, 1963
shit.
at the New York office of the FBI by Special Agent Eugene O'Neill and Robert Lawson. A review of the files revealed no pertinent details which would aid in the Dallas investigation, and the files will be returned to Mr. Richard Pollard, room 6938 of the Time Life Building, 50th Street and 6th Avenue, New York City, New York.
Holy shit. Can you screenshot that document and send that to me, or send me that file? Can you get that to me? I want to read that. Holy shit, dude. Mr. Martin's film of the Presidential Motorcade has been reviewed.
Yeah.
Okay, where's this film? I'm talking to everybody out there. Where is it? Are you guys already trying to find it?
Where is it?
Did you just hear that and you're already trying to find it? Please tell me that. Wow. It can't exist anymore.
I just texted you the document, sir.
Okay. It can't exist anymore, dude. It's got to, somebody put it in a sink and ran hot water over it, kind of thing. Did away with it, if it shows anything.
Obviously, it was never meant to be seen by anyone because it has never surfaced. And obviously, it sounds like a serious snow job. And that this part of the film, or this film, if it's not attached to the other one, because it did mention 8mm movies in plural. So it may not have been attached to the end of the one that we've seen. It might have been a total separate deal with even more crap on it. Who knows?
Yeah.
But whatever the case may be, this movie film was deep sixed by Time Life and the FBI, and basically under the premise that it served no useful information to aid in the investigation. So I just thought that was pretty damn explosive, dude. I
kid you not. I'm going to write this into an upcoming episode of the Dallas Action just to reiterate it. I'm gonna read it and analyze it in a month or two on my show, just because I think it needs to be out there. No shit, dude. Wow, that's amazing. I'm looking at it now on my phone. I'm reading it. I'm like, had I run across this document, I might have called you and said we need to record tomorrow morning immediately. I'm not kidding. It's crazy. Texas, December 4th.
Good. I'm glad you like it and see the value in it,
Well, of course. I want to get... another thing I might do is maybe in between when we record and when we upload, I might get that into a couple of hands, if you don't mind. Get that to preview, get it to Simpich and Allendale. Then maybe we can get their... our buddies Bill Simpich and Allendale. I'm sure they would find that really interesting.
Rock on with it, because you can see where I found it. It's right on Mary Farrell.
Right on Mary Farrell.
I don't have the particular euro, but it's been there for God knows how long. But yeah, it's one of those little nuggets of beautiful information that you come across every once in a while that makes you just be like, that's interesting.
That makes you glad you do this stuff when you run across things of that nature. The thrill of the chase, dude, the hunt, the evidence. I mean, that's amazing evidence that this same guy who was a soldier under General Edwin Walker in Germany, who flew from Minnesota Because on the film you can see he's leaving the airport in Minnesota and the snow and shit, and then he's filming landing in Dallas. Then it's General Edwin Walker's bullet hole, and this is in late July of 1963, months before the assassination. Then the guy goes to New Orleans and films Lee Oswald. And now this document seems to suggest, or doesn't seem to suggest, it absolutely lays it out, that Time Life had possession of a film of the Presidential Motorcade and possibly the assassination. I've never heard of a John Martin film of the assassination. I don't know. Maybe there's folks out there screaming at their device going, oh, yeah, we've known about that. But not me. Certainly not me. Damn, dude, I'm going to do that. I'm going to send that to Sipich and a couple of people and, say, hey, we're going to talk about this upcoming on the show. Check this out. Just a few people. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, for those people that can make that connection and see the importance of what that document says, yeah, for sure.
All right. You know what, man? I feel that whatever I bring, anything else I bring is just going to pale in comparison, dude. No joke.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. The silliness I have
it's
on
kind of like me
hand.
pulling my dick out beside you at the urinal and glancing over and like, what do you think about that? Huh?
I'm like, what is that? Is that a hair? What is that?
Oh, Lord.
I know, man. Everything I had lined out for the rest of the show myself is just pure silliness compared to that, dude. Should I go ahead with the silliness?
I don't see why not.
All right. Well, my man, look, dude. This next item is so dumb, Rob. It is so dumb that I had to create an entirely new segment to contain it, dude. So dumb.
Oh, goody. A new segment.
A new segment. This is a segment that we like to call... That's dumb shit. That's right. That's dumb shit. That's exactly what it is. Now, Rob,
are you singing that? That is a beautiful voice.
Thanks, man. Thank God for auto-tune.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say about that. Now, are you familiar, my man, with the name Matt Gaetz? Are you familiar with that name?
Nope.
Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz is a Republican congressman from Florida. He is a notorious dumbass. A known flaky fucker, cucumber, MAGA cult shitweasel, basically, is what this guy is. Now, this is the dude that at the beginning of the pandemic put on the gas mask, called it a liberal hoax, and put on a gas mask on the House floor during a vote, and then 2 weeks later caught COVID. And then got so paranoid about it, he slept in his SUV in a Walmart parking lot in Destin, Florida, for like 2 weeks. Right now, in March of this year, Rob, Mr. Gaetz found himself under investigation by the Justice Department for sex trafficking. Apparently, he was using campaign funds to pay the expenses of underage girls to fly in and out of the country for the purposes of les stinky while he's traveling away from his family. See, that's what he was doing, and he fucker got caught. Oh, yeah, he got caught.
Sounds like a great guy.
Sounds like a great... Well, you know what? Not only is he a douchebag, but he's not very smart either. Now, first, we're talking about this guy, but we're also, Rob, we're talking about Newsweek magazine. Are you familiar with Newsweek magazine? Of course you are. It's the American...
Unfortunately, yes.
Unfortunately, yes. It's the big American news magazine founded in 1933, one of the most successful news publications of the 20th century. Now, this segment will concretely demonstrate two things, Rob. One, that Matt Gaetz is just as much the fucking clueless twit I've always known him to be And two, that the mainstream media is absolutely populated by untold amounts of clueless effing twits who know nothing about the story that you and I and our listeners study. Okay? Now, first, we're going to tell the story of what happened via Newsweek. All right? This is via Newsweek. It says here, Matt Gaetz has deleted a picture of Lee Harvey Oswald from his Twitter account after he and several other Florida conservative figures were tricked into retweeting his picture on Memorial Day. Journalist Ken Klippenstein trolled prominent Republicans, including Florida Congressman Rep. Gaetz, American Conservative Union Chairman Matt Schlapp. I think that's how you say that name. S-C-H-L-A-P-P. Schlapp. How would you like to be named Schlapp? Schlapp, dude. Let me schlop this out. Let me slop you with this.
Hey, slap
nuts. and conservative commentator Denise D'Souza into sharing Oswald's photograph on Memorial Day. Klippenstein tweeted at the conservative figures and pretended Oswald, who's pictured wearing his military uniform, was a family member. And he sure did, dude. Now, here's the thing. This Ken Klippenstein, this journalist, dude, Matt Gaetz retweeted this. And his Klippenstein's Twitter handle is Matt Gaetz is a pedo. And Matt Gaetz still retweeted it. I mean, yeah. But this is what he tweeted at Gaetz. It's a picture of a very young Oswald in his uniform. It says, Matt Gaetz, Congressman, my grandpa's a big fan of yours and is a veteran. He would be thrilled if you would retweet this photo of him for Memorial Day. Here he is as a young private first class. And then Gaetz retweeted it with this big thing about, God bless your grandfather and blah, 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 blah. No idea it's Oswald. Right? Newsweek goes on.
That's fucking hilarious.
Oh, dude. Newsweek, it gets worse. While many Twitter users ridicule the Republicans for falling for the prank, controversial conservative commentator Candace Owens hit out at the journalist and alleged that the Oswald picture in question was photoshopped. In response to Klippenstein, Owens tweeted, "It is not political correctness to have a soul and a modicum of decency. These men died, the majority of them on foreign soil, so that you could be free. You do not Photoshop murderers into their uniforms so you can have a laugh." Not knowing that Oswald was in the U.S. military, Rob. But wait.
But somehow it wasn't even the dumbest and most juvenile thing that happened.
Oh, no, Rob, there's more.
Oh, Lord.
Now, Newsweek. Now you understand that the whole point of this article by Newsweek is to mock these people who were tricked into tweeting Oswald's photograph, right? Right. They're trying to mock them. They're trying to correct them. Now, Newsweek corrects them by saying the following. This is from the Newsweek ad. You ready? Oswald served in the Army and was ultimately given an undesirable discharge from the Marine Corps in September of 1960. Oswald was
that's wrong.
Oswald was in the Army, Newsweek magazine says. Now, dude, my dad used to tell people who worked for him, he would say, if you don't know what you're doing, tell somebody. All right? Newsweek, and specifically one individual named Anders Anglesby, who wrote this article, all right, the online correspondent for Newsweek. See, I think, Rob, the hashtag GFY has to go to Newsweek even more so than Matt Gaetz at this point, right? I mean, dude, Anders. Well, yeah. I mean, what does it take? A simple Google search if you're not 100% familiar? You know what I mean? There's no excuse for that. Absolutely no excuse for that, if you ask me. So I'm giving the hashtag GFY to Newsweek here. Jesus Christ. How dumb can you get, right?
Fuck that
Great.
shit. That's dumb shit.
Rob, I also had, real quick, if I may, sir, 3 quick items of note I would like to share with you and everybody.
Why, certainly.
Certainly. One, the much anticipated and much hyped documentary, film documentary, JFK Revisited Through the Looking Glass from Academy Award winning director Oliver Stone and researcher and author James DiEugenio is set to debut, Rob, at the Cannes Film Festival in Cannes, France, or, as they say on the West Coast, Los Angeles in particular, Francais.
Le croissant.
This year's event marks the film festival's 74th anniversary and will take place next month, July 6th through the 17th. JFK Revisited Through the Looking Glass is listed in the Cannes premiere category. Again, much anticipated, Rob. I very much look forward to seeing it. What about you?
I can't say I'm looking forward to it, but I'll watch it.
Oh, all righty then, duly noted. Also, I've mentioned...
Oliver Stone kind of soured my balls when, he decided to break bread with Judith Mary Baker and cry on her shoulder and embrace her and tell her, I believe you, Judith.
Boy. You think you really felt that way?
We'll see.
Yeah. We will see. Exactly.
Probably. I wouldn't put it past him.
You never know, dude. It was definitely a curious incident, indeed. Also, I've mentioned before the Zoom meetings, the online free Zoom meetings, which are monthly conferences that are hosted by Project JFK CSI Dallas. In fact, we had Mr. Quinlan on the show here recently talking about that, Casey Quinlan. They have been hosting them now once per month, Rob. And on the evening of June 20th...
Yeah, and also, Doug, hang on. Also, real quick, DPUK has been doing the same thing for years now. And as we're recording this, in fact, Mr. Larry Hancock is presenting to the DPUK members online in a Zoom meeting. So you have to be a member, though, of DPUK, Dealey Plaza UK, to watch. Make sure you're checking all this stuff out.
Why is Bart Camp not comping me a ticket? That's what I want to know.
You got to pay your dues, buddy.
I guess I need to ask Bart. Either that or just send Bart some damn money. What do you think?
Yeah, I pay my dues, $40 a year. I'm a DPUK member.
DPUK member. Yeah, I need to be one for sure. But
and presenter of one of those Saturday meetings. So I encourage everybody to check those out, and also check out the Project Camelot ones as well.
Well, I need to do that. I need to see about becoming a member of Dealey Plaza UK. Absolutely. But this thing that JFK CSI has been doing now, on the evening of June the 23rd at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, there will be a special edition of this meeting that anyone can attend for free, Rob. It is a 2-hour presentation plus a Q&A session with the audience with Dr. John Newman. All right? You can go to projectjfk.com and click on their events tab at the top and sign up because, guys, I have been boning up and taking copious notes, and I have some pointed, points that I hope to present to Dr. Newman regarding his research into Antonio Veciana and the David Phillips of CIA was Maurice Bishop freaking fairy tale that Veciana fed us. And I'm going to try to talk to Dr. Newman about that during the public Q&A thing there. So again, projectjfk.com.
Can I pass along a question for you to ask him?
Absolutely. I bet I know what it's going to be about.
Ask him why he never returned my phone call in Dallas in 2019.
Dude, why he stood you up at the event and fucking left? Yeah. I might.
It was an interview for this very show. Quick hits.
Yeah, let's see. We spent
No hard feelings, though.
No hard feelings. I spent 2 weeks passing questions back and forth that we wrote with his people, and edit this question, change this word, change that word, and then you got ghosted. You looked up and he was gone. But we don't hold a grudge. Yeah. Not us.
No, absolutely not.
Absolutely not. We are.
If he wasn't such a great researcher, maybe.
Right. But as for us, we're polite as fuck. Aren't we?
Totally.
Always. Speaking of polite people, my third item, St. Patrick. St. Patrick.
Nice guy.
Garrison.
Love ST.
Love ST. Well, you know what, Rob? Garrison number 7. Issue number 7 is now available over at midnightridernews.com. And it has the single most attractive back cover I've ever seen on a magazine. So you guys have got to order this. Garrison issue 7, midnightridernews.com, 186 pages. This quarterly. It's quarterly.
The physical copy, people.
Get the physical copy if you want to see the badass back cover. You got to buy it. The paper. Rob's right.
Turn that sumbitch over on your coffee table.
Yeah, I did. You know it? I did. I flipped it over. Fucking A. It's in my office, dude. No kidding. But got a story on Bob Woodward, which is ironic because also in my office I have 2 Bob Woodward books, the Nixon books. But yeah, you guys check that out.
And the movie Deep Throat.
No, that's in my home office.
Oh, sorry.
That one's at my home office on a thumb drive. No.
God damn, I kill me.
Ray Locker. He wrote a story about Bob Woodward in this issue. John Simkin on JFK assassination Watergate links. Get a poem by Edward Tatro about Richard Nixon. You can read that in here. We have Larry Hancock, Walt Brown.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. 20 years of 9/11. David Ray Griffin. Features include Richard Booth on Epstein and Gates, Doug Horn on Pearl Harbor, stories on Aleister Crowley, all kinds of cool stuff. Garrison, issue number 7 from Midnight Rider Press. I think that's what he calls that. Yeah, check that out too. So, Rob, that's all I had there, buddy. I feel like. Wait a minute. Let me open my notebook back up to the correct page because we don't want me to get lost again. We don't need that. No, that causes time to be expended when I get lost, doesn't it, Rob? You said there was a shenanigan from social media you would like to share with us, correct?
Yes.
All right. Well,
a Facebook shenanigan.
No. You know what? It's time for Facebook shenanigans.
There you go.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that part of the show where Rob and I share goofy shit people wrote on the internet. Take it away, Rob.
Well, just to preface this, Doug, I'm going to tell you that it really has nothing at all to do with the JFK assassination.
Okay, well, we're open-minded here.
I found it extremely fucking hilarious, okay?
Okay.
So, due to the global pandemic and COVID and all this happy horse shit, and there's been several disruptions in the supply chain when it comes to various goods and services.
Such as?
I'm sure you've experienced it as well. When it comes to metals and plastics and every little thing you can imagine is going up in price due to all this stuff and shortages, and people don't want to go back to work because they're getting paid to sit at home and do nothing.
Lumber.
And on and on and on. Lumber, yes. Yeah, go buy a piece of plywood. Tell me how much you spent.
Ooh.
Everything is going up or very hard to get. So, my wife and I stumbled upon a side hustle, an inadvertent side hustle we stumbled upon a few months ago, and that is that of the above-ground pool hustle. Are you familiar?
Now, I'm familiar with above ground pools, but not the hustle. No, sir.
Okay, well, here's the hustle. So, starting last year, the supply got very, very low due to the metals and the plastics and country of origin for most of these above ground pools. Now, I'm not speaking of the ones, the really, really nice ones, but just the ones that normally would cost you a couple $100 in Walmart. You get yourself a nice 16, 18, 20 foot by 4 foot deep pool to plant in the backyard, and the kids can have fun for a couple years before, it needs to be replaced or whatever.
Guy can come home from a hard day's work, cool off in the little pool there for a few minutes.
Exactly. So, last year we had a pool and didn't really winterize it very well, and so come the spring it had several holes in it and was quite beyond the repair. So we went and my wife purchased a couple different pools in early times of this year, kind of in the off season. Yeah. Figuring that they would be cheaper and easier to find.
Stock up.
In anticipation of, and because we didn't really know if we wanted to go with a bigger one this year or anything like that. So we got a couple different ones. And we settled on one and did our due diligence, leveled the ground and all that good stuff, got it up, got it filled up, got the pump hooked up. Everything's great with our pool. You know what I'm saying? So
rocking and rolling.
I figured, you know what? We'll just sell the other pools, on Facebook Marketplace. Right?
Sounds reasonable.
So I started looking online for, what these pools are going for. And good Lord Almighty, if you go on Walmart.com, Amazon.com, and try to find yourself an 18 to 20 foot above ground pool, sir, you're going to pay upwards of $1,800 to $2,000.
Easily.
For a pool that would normally cost you $300 or $400 at Walmart, okay? Or wherever you can find it. So we made out very good from the first couple pools that we sold.
No, good.
I was like, well, shit, if people are selling them for this much online, we'll slice a couple $100 off and sell them locally here. People can pick them up.
Yeah, if they're selling new online for $1,200, you can get $1,000 out of a good used one.
Yeah. So between my wife being a purchasing agent for a government contractor, she's very good at procuring things. Okay.
Yeah.
And I also have an in with one of my family members who happens to work at Walmart. Right. So there were not
got
very
the
many
Wally
pools
World
available
hookup, baby.
here.
The Wally World hookup. Say, Rob got the Wally World hookup, baby.
Yeah. There weren't, so, the stores are very spread out. Like, I don't know how it is in your town, but like in our town, we have, for 100,000 people, say, we have 3 Walmarts that are very, within 10 miles of each other. You know what I mean? My county, there's one super Walmart in the entire county. So, yeah. And I don't know how many people are in that county. Nashville proper, there's probably, 5 or 6? 4 or 5 Walmarts?
Yeah, 5 or 6, yeah.
So, each store might get one pool. A busier store might get 2 pools. One of the stores might not get any. So they're very, this might happen very sporadically. Like once every 2 weeks, they might get a pool or 2 pools in. So they're very hard to come by unless you're in the right place at the right time with the money to buy it. They're very hard to come by.
Oh, yeah.
So we found ourselves in the right place at the right time with the money to buy up some of these pools, right? So I started a little side hustle on the Facebook Marketplace selling these pools to people, right?
Boom. And that's why I haven't heard from you lately very much, because you've been busy with the side hustle.
Roasted, dude. And I mean roasted online.
You did?
I have never been I've never been met with such vicious, horrific, terrifying, vilifying comments in all my life.
No shit.
I mean, all I'm doing is flipping pools, but suddenly I'm worse than Charles Manson.
Why?
I'm worse
What's the problem?
Oh, because I'm taking advantage. I'm buying up all the pools and taking advantage of a shortage and jacking the prices up. So families' kids can't enjoy these pools in the summer, right? So
you remember that movie Goodfellas? Remember that movie Goodfellas? Fuck you, pay me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
You know, don't hate the player, hate the game.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
If you want to go to Walmart and buy one, good luck. Go ahead. You know what I'm saying? You want to order one on Amazon, you're going to pay twice as much as what you pay me for it. And I'm still going to make over double my money. You know what I'm saying?
Boom. Yeah.
So
still saving money, and it's probably easier to get one from
still
you.
Still saving money.
Right? It's easier to get one from you than to get one from Walmart because, like you say, there's 150,000 people in this Walmart's area, and they might have one or two of these pools at any given time.
Right.
Rob has more.
So, yeah, back up in my driveway. I'll throw it on the back of your truck, and you hand me the cash, and you're off.
Dude,
you're easy.
You're providing a public service, man.
Yeah. So in the comments section of all these various sites that I posted the pool on, I was getting my nuts roasted off, dude. And I didn't say a word back to any of them. I didn't say nothing on any of the posts. I didn't comment on any of them. I just let it go because all their comments on my posts were keeping my post at the top, right? Now, one asshole decided to send me a message on Messenger.
Oh, boy.
And tell me this. Hey, you dumb cock-sucking motherfucker. Nobody in their right mind is going to pay that much for a goddamn pool. You're a fucking retard, right? So.
How many of them had you sold by this point?
Well, I went back to my Facebook Marketplace profile, and I pulled up my listings, and I screenshotted each one. Okay, so there's one. Swimming pool, 14 foot by 42 inch, $550. Another one, $500. Pool filter and pump, $210. Another pool, $600. Another pool, $600. Now these are the big dogs, 22 footers by 52 inches deep. $1,200, $1,200, $900, $1,100, $300 or $550, right? So I screenshot all this stuff,
and then these are pools that you had previously sold. You've already sold these. These are not for sale. These are sold.
Yeah, these are sold. So I screenshotted them and I sent it back to him. And I sent him a picture of myself, giving him the middle finger and telling him #GFY.
#GFY. Yes. Yes.
And then I included underneath that a GIF of Donald Duck walking and counting a bunch of cash. Right? He didn't say a fucking word back to me. Right? So then I went back on every pool post that I had that people were roasting me on. And I just posted that little Donald Duck GIF at the bottom of all of them, just to piss them off. Right?
That is awesome. That is awesome.
So that's just my Facebook shenanigans. I figured people get a kick out of it, and if you want to think I'm an asshole for doing it, I mean, go ahead, but. Just kind of stumbled into something that we can double or triple our money on, and people are still saving money if they buy them from us. So
that's nothing, but man, dude, that's hot dogs and apple pie. The good old American ingenuity and know-how, and go after it and work hard and come up with an idea. Man, that's just
it's the law of supply and demand.
Free market capitalism at work, putting cash, folded money in Rob's pocket.
That's right.
That's
so now
right.
I'm a couple grand richer after, So, fuck the haters.
Fuck that guy,
That's my
man.
motto.
Dude, #GFY to that guy. That's what I say, man. Awesome.
Exactly.
Dude, the rain's picking up down there.
That's my Facebook shenanigans.
I can hear the
Yeah.
seagulls
it's a good thing I'm
and the
under this
rain,
tropical
man.
umbrella.
Yeah, the seagulls and the rain,
Yeah.
man. I wish I was down there with you, homie. Man. Yeah, we could read
It's
emails
still beautiful.
together.
Even though it's raining, it's still beautiful.
I heard that, dude. We could emails in the rain, dude. You ready for some emails?
I am.
All right,
Let's
it's
do it.
time for listener emails.
Oh, yes, wait a minute, Mr. Bozeman. Wait!
Mr. Clark, you have the floor, sir.
Why, thank you, sir. All right, I got 4 emails today, Doug,
Lay them on me, sir.
and they're all serious. We have no surprise made up people with their funny comments.
No damn comedians this time, then.
Yeah, I kind of miss it, but maybe next time we'll get some more comedians.
Well, I'm prepared
But
for
this
the
time
comedians.
it's all business, buddy.
So, there we go. Good job.
All right. Our first one is from Dave Zorab from Chartable. Congratulations, guys. Quick Hits is now ranked number 116 on the Apple Podcast True Crime chart in Greece.
100 what?
We're huge. Increase.
Wait a minute.
116th.
Now, where were we before? Weren't we 123rd before? We were.
We might have been.
Yeah, I
we're
think so.
slowly climbing the chart in Greece.
Fuck yes. Progress.
Yes.
I'm so happy.
We have, and it says, hi again. Just wanted to let you know that you have four reviews, 17 ratings, and 27 chart appearances waiting for you from Apple Podcasts. So
there are
bear with
reviews on
one
Apple
moment.
Podcasts. Wow. Never thought to look at that.
yeah, so I figured we'd hit those real quick
Oh, boy.
and see what people have to say about the show. Now, this is probably not a good thing to do on.
Never, ever read any review of any podcast I've ever been a part of on any platform. You know what? I never have. Just never have done it. But, sure. Wait a minute. This is kind of a special occasion here.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
I mean
boy.
it's never been done live on the air. Well, I will say we have a 4.8 out of 5-star rating, dude.
On no shit. Okay. I take back all that stuff
Yeah.
I just said.
And
Boom.
and that's from 16 ratings, so not bad. We're doing good.
Well, you know, it is
Okay,
the
are you ready for the review?
It is the fastest growing JFK assassination research-based podcast on planet Earth. We do know that.
It is. The stellar work. This is from May 19th of 2020. This is an old one.
Oh, wow.
Stellar work. You guys just keep cranking out great content in flexible formats. Bravo. Thanks for all you do.
Well, hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
I'm trying to find...
Trying to find a bad one.
well, more than the one. I thought we said we had 5.
Oh. Well, hell, I'll
but
take
I can't
that.
find them
Shit.
anywhere.
Let's just assume they're all fantastic. What do you think?
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah. Or if you
Yeah, 'cause
find
I
them,
don't-
read them. Shit.
I don't have Apple products.
Yeah, I don't either, man.
Let's see. Yeah, I don't know how this works. But anyway, if you like the show, leave us a review and a 5-star rating. That would be awesome. Appreciate it.
Yeah, if you don't like the show, don't write
All
shit.
right, back to the email.
Back to the email.
Right. Go fuck yourself. Okay.
100.
This one is from listener Joshua Cawley, who is a longtime listener of the Lone Gunman podcast.
And you know what? And a long-time
And he writes-
supporter of the Dallas action. What's up, dude? What is up? Welcome to Quick Hits.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
It says, Dear Quick Hits, according to Dr. Walt Brown, 22 minutes into this YouTube video, the advanced car in the motorcade stopped briefly to talk with James Powell, an Army intelligence agent involved with the surveillance of domestic dissidents.
Yes.
What do you guys think their conversation may have been about, and do you think they were involved in the assassination? Thanks, Josh.
I'm very suspicious of all those guys. I mean, if you look at the way everything was lined out, Lumpkin and Whittemire, I think they were the district co-commanders for the 112th Army Intelligence. They were in the pilot car. In a way, Army Intelligence kind of led him led the parade. Army Intelligence led him right into the kill zone. Very suspicious of Powell because he is a plainclothes Army Intelligence operative agent who gets caught inside the Texas School Book Depository and just happens to take that photograph. I don't think James Powell just happened to be there, Joshua. I do not. Now, whether he was involved in the plot or it was one of these, they thought there might be a plot or somebody heard something, wanted to be on hand, I don't know, man. But I'm very suspicious. Rob?
Yeah, I would classify this dude as more of a watcher, maybe assigned, and maybe there were several of them assigned to that motorcade in Dallas that day, but assigned to, that part of Dealey Plaza and Elm Street in particular, and armed with a camera, just in case anything went down. You know what I'm saying? Because I would believe it was from the Army intelligence file that the Dallas police got most of their information on Lee Harvey Oswald relatively quickly.
Yep.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Doug.
Yep.
But it all seems very suspicious to me that he just happened to be there, happened to have a camera aimed at the 6th floor, and to capture that building at almost the exact moment that things went sideways. So, yeah, I don't know if he was involved per se, but I want to say he was probably assigned to be there and document anything if it happened to go down. And he may have even known that the supposed dissident Oswald was employed in that building and had maybe heard grumblings leaking out of the FBI that this guy was still of interest.
That's right. Yeah.
Who knows? But yeah. Thank you, Josh. Very good question, sir.
Thanks, buddy, and thanks for listening to all 3 shows.
Definitely. All right. This one is from David Bishop, and it concerns the limo stop, Doug.
All right.
He says, "Hey, y'all. I got to agree with Douglas. That limo stop in Dealey Plaza, it's pure fiction. That is to say, at least, that a deliberate stop is a fiction. Let's think how the conversation would have gone at the planning stage." And this is where the email gets a little funny. Ed Lansdale, and in parentheses, of course it's him, says, "Roy, Bill, here's how it's going to go down. You'll turn into Dealey Plaza, and we'll have 3 teams of shooters here, here, and here. They'll take shots before the freeway sign. When you get here by these yellow marks, our homie George Bush will open and close his umbrella, and that's a signal to hit the brakes. Now, don't worry about sitting there in the kill zone like 2 coconuts at the state fair. We're sure that all the snipers' aims are going to be spot on. There certainly won't be any ricochets. The ballistics of the guns are 100%, and there won't be any flying debris. So just sit there for as long as it takes. Okay?" Kellerman says, "Yeah, okay, General, that's great. Good plan. And thanks for the 50 grand. By the way, did Bill and I mention we're going to be taking sick days on the 22nd? Honestly, these kooks expect us to believe these guys were in on it and willingly sat there in the line of fire until JFK's brain matter spattered them in the backs of their heads. Anyone with any sense would either duck or haul ass unless they were so shocked as to be stupefied.
To think,
if for no other reason, this makes the whole
I agree.
idea preposterous."
Preposterous, dude. You're going to put the... Okay, now listen, guys. There's going to be, 1, 2, 3, 4... What was it, 6 people in that limo? There are going to be 6 of you in this convertible. our best marksmen are going to be lobbing high-powered rifle fire into this car with you, but don't worry. The hell? What the hell? It's like the guy I got in an argument with one time online. He said, well, I'm sure the shooters were told not to hurt Jackie. It's a moving car going downhill. They have rifles. What the? They don't care who gets killed. You know, it's just It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Sorry, Rob. I went off there a little bit.
Oh, it's all good. Cordially yours, David Bishop / Maurice Atlee Phillips. I use both monikers, as Lisa Pease can attest to. So apparently he's a lover of Lisa Pease.
Oh, boy. Hey, she's going to be apparently attending that thing with John Newman. I saw in a Facebook thing where she tagged Jim DiEugenio in the comments of the post when John Newman posted it to publicize it. So I guess she's calling attention to DiEugenio and wants DiEugenio to attend with her. So I will be there as well.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, very lovely, very lovely. So I'll be there as well.
Well, that's it for the mailbag, Doug. Let's do better next time, people. We need more emails.
Yeah, we need more emails. And those are good, though. I liked them. They were all right, man. They were all right.
Yeah.
The whole show was all right, dude. It's awesome. It's awesome. That's about all I had, though, man. What about you?
Wasn't bad. That's it for me, brother.
Cool. Hang on. I'm being handed a note. What does this... What? Hang on, guys. Hang on. We have a guest in the studio. What's up, dude? Okay.
It's open. I didn't want you to lock it.
Oh, okay, cool. Sorry. It's okay, guys. Manager's work is never done. Sorry about that, Rob. I couldn't read the note the gentleman gave me. I'm working even when I'm not working. But hey, I guess that's about all I... You know what? Don't tell this guy that came in here, but he works here in the studio. I don't even know his name. I have no idea what the fuck he's talking about that he borrowed from the other studio.
Random guy.
Yeah, he's like, I'm so sorry I borrowed this thing from the other studio. And I'm like, okay. Like, sure, whatever you say. What the fuck is he talking about? Anyway.
Just make sure you put it back, buddy.
And I apologize to whatever the fuck that is you borrowed, put it back. And I apologize to the listeners as well. I would edit all that out like we did earlier, Rob, but I just don't have the energy. What do you think? Or does it just make
I'll leave it in, fuck it.
Better radio? Or no?
Yeah, of course.
Of course. Okay. Well, all right. On that note, it's about time to hit the Magnum PI music. Rob, you want to start us off here on our wrap-up, sir? There's the music.
Surely. If you like this show and you want to hear more from moi, you can find the Lone Gunman podcast anywhere you listen to this one, and probably a few more places as well. You can also find it on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere fine podcasts are listened to. You can also hear me guest host on the Midnight Rider News Show every once in a while. And in fact, I owe ST an episode that I'm way overdue on, and hopefully will get done soon. Things been busy. Follow the page, The Lone Gunman Podcast, on Facebook, and you can follow me on Twitter at The Lone Gunman 7 if you want to get at your boy, if you know what I'm saying. Douglas?
All right, guys, you can find my show, The Dallas Action, presented by Wall Street Window, everywhere you find podcasts, from Spreaker to Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and on and on and on. Just search your favorite podcast app, or just Google the Dallas Action Podcast, JFK, and you should find it. And like quick hits here, it is a Drop D podcast production. So for Rob Clark, this is Doug Campbell saying tune in again next time, guys, when at around the halfway point of his 2019 Meeting of the Minds with Judith Very Baker, we'll hear the voice in Oliver Stone's head say,
Why is she still talking?
We are out.
Le croissant.